Life has a funny way of surprising us. Sometimes a decision that seems small or temporary can end up reshaping everything we know. Peter Mutabazi's life was forever changed with a single phone call. A call asking him to take in a child he didn't know, for a weekend he hadn't planned on. But that weekend wasn't just a blip in time. It became the beginning of an incredible story of love, commitment, and the creation of a family. A story that proves family is not defined by blood, but by love and the bonds we choose to build. But before we dive deeper into Peter and Anthony's life-changing journey, if you're inspired by stories like this and want to hear more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss out on our latest videos. Your support helps us share these beautiful life-changing stories with the world. Peter's story begins like so many others in the foster care system. He had just become a certified foster dad, ready to help kids in need, but unsure of what it would truly take. Then, out of nowhere, the call came. A hospital had an abandoned child, a little boy named Anthony who had no one. Peter was asked to care for him for the weekend while social services figured out what to do next. It was meant to be temporary, a brief moment in time. But Peter didn't realize at that moment that this phone call would change his life forever. It wasn't just about helping a child for a weekend. It was about something much deeper, something Peter couldn't yet understand. When Peter met Anthony, the little boy was in a state of emotional turmoil. Abandoned by his biological parents and left alone in a hospital, Anthony had already endured so much pain. Peter recalls the moment Anthony first arrived in his care. His face was full of uncertainty, sadness, and confusion. It was heartbreaking, Peter said. And though Peter had no idea how to make the situation better, he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't leave the boy in that kind of pain. He had to try, even if he wasn't sure how. In those first few hours, Peter did his best to comfort Anthony, but it wasn't easy. The little boy, understandably, kept his distance. He was cautious, maybe even afraid, of getting close to yet another stranger. But as the hours ticked by, something unexpected happened. A bond began to form. Peter spent time with Anthony, talking to him, playing games, doing everything he could to make him feel safe. Slowly but surely, the walls Anthony had built around himself began to come down. And what Peter didn't know was that, in his own quiet way, Anthony was starting to trust him. For the first time in a long time, he felt like someone cared. That weekend was supposed to be short-term, but by the end of it, Peter couldn't let go. He knew that this little boy, this child who had been abandoned and forgotten by his biological parents, had found something in him. And Peter had found something in Anthony too. A purpose, a chance to be the kind of father he had always dreamed of being. But the reality of the situation was not that simple. After the weekend, Peter was asked to return Anthony to the foster care system, where his future remained uncertain. Peter was torn. He didn't want to say goodbye to Anthony, but he also didn't know if he was equipped to give this child the stability he needed. It was a moment of intense reflection for Peter. He thought about his own childhood, the family he'd always dreamed of creating, and the love he had to give. And in that moment, Peter realized something important. Family is built on more than just blood. It's built on connection, trust, and the willingness to give yourself fully to someone else. After much contemplation, Peter made a decision that would change the course of both their lives. He would adopt Anthony, he would offer the little boy a permanent home, a family, and the love he so desperately needed. "I knew that this wasn't just a weekend," Peter said. "It was the beginning of something bigger, something that couldn't be undone, and I was ready for it." In November 2019, after months of legal proceedings, Peter became Anthony's adoptive father. It wasn't easy and it wasn't quick, but the moment Anthony officially became his son was one of the most beautiful moments of Peter's life. The journey from foster dad to adoptive father wasn't without its challenges. The emotional roller coaster of navigating the foster care system, the uncertainties of Anthony's future, and the complicated process of adoption all weighed heavily on Peter. But through it all, he remained steadfast. He knew this was the right thing to do. He wasn't just giving Anthony a home, he was giving him a future. Over time, Peter and Anthony began to build a life together. They celebrated birthdays, holidays, and milestones. Peter watched Anthony grow from a scared, uncertain boy into a confident, happy young child. And in return, Peter found something he hadn't expected either. Fatherhood was everything he had hoped for, and more. The love he shared with Anthony was like nothing else. Watching him grow and thrive has been the greatest gift of my life, Peter reflected. He's not just my son, he's my heart. But the story doesn't end there. Peter's journey wasn't just about giving Anthony a home. It was about showing the world that foster care is more than just a temporary arrangement. It's about building real, lasting relationships. It's about creating families where there are none. And perhaps most importantly, it's about proving that love can heal even the deepest wounds. Now, 4 years later, Peter and Anthony are still together, still a family. They've gone through highs and lows, challenges and triumphs, but through it all, their bond has only grown stronger. Peter has watched Anthony blossom into a remarkable young person, and he's proud of the young man he's becoming. For Anthony, Peter is not just a foster dad, he's his father, the man who gave him a chance when no one else would, the man who loved him when he had nothing to give. And for Peter, Anthony is more than just a child he adopted. He's his son, the child he always dreamed of raising, the child he will always love. Peter's story is a reminder that family doesn't come from DNA. It comes from love, commitment, and the willingness to say yes when the world might tell you to walk away. Sometimes it only takes one decision to change everything. For Peter and Anthony, it only took one weekend, and that weekend turned into a lifetime. Their story shows us that it's never too late to change someone's life, and that the right decision, the one that may seem scary or uncertain, can turn into the best decision you'll ever make. Peter's commitment to Anthony is proof that the love between a parent and child isn't defined by how they were born. It's defined by how they choose to live, to care, and to love. And in the end, that's what makes a family. If you found Peter and Anthony's story inspiring, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Let's spread the message that love and family come in many forms. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories just like this. Thank you for watching.